It was a fine, sunny day in June. Tom was sitting at the kitchen table poking his egg. "Do I really have to go?" he groaned. His mother, who was frying an egg, stayed quiet for a moment. "Yes, you do," she snapped. "You know how much I hate camps," he whined. "Go get dressed. The bus arrives in half an hour," she ordered. He went upstairs grudgingly. And over on the other side of the street, however, Kylie was very excited about going. "I can't wait to go," she beamed. Her cat meowed loudly and brushed themselves against her leg. "Sorry I can't bring you, Mimi," she said to her cat, bending down to scratch her behind her ear. She smiled. "Don't worry, I'll only be gone for a week." She checked her watch. "Oh no, I have to go now or I'll miss the bus." She ran downstairs, grabbing a piece of toast. She said her goodbyes to her parents as she ran out the door. Kylie entered the bus and found a seat next to her good friend, Julie. "Hey, Julie," she exclaimed. Julie was writing something in her diary and didn't notice Kylie join her on the bus. She got a bit of a fright when Kylie said hi. "Oh, hi, Kylie." She closed her diary and they talked for the whole duration of the journey to the camp. When the bus arrived, the sun was beginning to set. There was a big sign at the entrance of the camp which greeted everyone. It had the words Wallow Creek, but some of the lettering fell off it so it looked more like random letters instead. The place looked old and murky, with moss growing on the sign and on almost every inch of the cabins. There were 2 cabins, one on each side of the camp with a big campfire in the middle. The cabin on the left had a sign with girls on it, and on the cabin on the right side had boys. Further up ahead, there was a bigger cabin, which was where the counselor stayed in, and next to that, a little canteen area. Kylie went off the bus and stared at the place in awe. "It looks amazing," she exclaimed. Tom trailed behind her. I guess it looks okay," he added. Kylie turned around and looked at Tom. "I'm Kylie Smith." "And you are?" she replied. "Huh?" "Oh, I'm Tom," he answered. Just then, the counselor came out to greet the kids. There were 15 campers altogether. "Hey there, everyone. Welcome to Wallow Creek. I'm John Davis, and I'll be your counselor for the week. If you have any questions, come to my office anytime," he said. A pretty girl with long blonde hair tied in a ponytail came out and stood beside him. "This is your guide, Rose. She will show you around to your cabins, and she will be doing all the fun activities with you," he added before walking back up to his office, letting Rose get to her task of helping the kids unpack in their cabins. A kid with dark brown hair jumped off the bus. He wore a black hoodie over his head, and overall looked strange. He held a rather larger bag than most of the campers. Rose came over to him and asked if she could help him with his bag. No thanks. I'd like if I held it myself," he stammered, sounding quite suspicious. "Well, okay then," she replied, raising her eyebrows. When it was time for everyone to eat, Tom decided to sit next to a beautiful girl with curly brown hair and lush green eyes. She wore a baby blue dress and a rose gold necklace shaped as a heart. "Hey, I'm Tom," he said to the girl. She turned around. "Oh, hey, I'm Veronica," she said, smiling. "You smell so nice," he added. Veronica raised her eyebrows and leaned back. Thanks. Do you want to, maybe?" Tom tried to ask before he was rudely interrupted by a big jock named Mike. "Hey, Veronica, come sit over here," he called to her. She quickly ran towards them without a second thought. Tom frowned. He sighed as he got up and walked away. Meanwhile, the guy with the black hoodie saw the entire thing. He looked over at Veronica and thought for a moment before leaving the canteen and into the forest. The next morning, Julie woke up early as usual and stretched. "I can't wait to go out there and be productive," she thought. She decided to go for an early run. The forest was very quiet in the morning, with faint bird noises in the distance. It felt very peaceful out there, until suddenly Julie spotted something she wished she hadn't seen. Right next to a broken branch was what seemed to be a girl sleeping soundly. She slowly creeped up to the girl, realizing she was laying very unusually still. The closer Julie got to her, the more she could see what was really there. The girl's body had stab wounds on their chest, a puddle of blood still pouring out from the cuts. A bloody knife was in her hand. Julie put her hands to her mouth. "Oh my God," she thought. "That girl is dead." Not even an hour has passed before the place where the body was found had caution tape all around it. Cops, Police cars, ambulances were everywhere. Other girls who knew the girl were crying hysterically. Kylie tried to calm them down, but even herself couldn't believe what happened. Tom asked Kylie who it was. "It was Veronica Gallagher," she replied. Tom frowned and furrowed his eyebrows. "I only just met her yesterday. She seemed so nice," he snarled. The police reported that it was probably a suicide, to which the counselor decided to still keep the camping trip go on. Some of the girls left early for obvious reasons, leaving only 8 campers left. Julie went up to Kylie and Tom. "I know the cops said it was a suicide, but I don't know. When I saw the body, it definitely looked like a murder. Will you guys help me find out who did it?" she asked. "I'm in. The poor girl. I feel so sorry for her parents." Kylie frowned. "I will help too. I really liked Veronica," Tom said. The 3 of them decided to keep an eye on anyone who they thought was suspicious. They all split up to watch everyone, and by the time it became dark, they all met up with each other to report back. "So far, I got nothing," said Julie. "How about ye?" "Me neither. Everyone seems to be normal." "Any luck, Tom?" Kylie asked. "Yeah. During lunch, that one guy with the black hoodie who always sits in the corner was nowhere to be seen. Nor was Mike." "Guy with black hoodie? You mean Jason?" Julie asked. I mean, he do be looking suspicious, though." "All right, let's keep an eye on him," Julie ordered. The next day was fairly normal, although Mike and his best friend Sully were nowhere to be seen. Everyone didn't think much of it until one of the campers, Megan, found what seemed to be the remains of Mike and Sully. When the police arrived, no one was allowed to leave the camp, as each and every one of them became suspects of the murder. The police also reported to the counselor that the autopsy of Veronica revealed that it was actually not a suicide, which made everyone feel on edge. "Oh no," Kylie gasped when she heard about the sad news. "There really is a murderer among us." "And then there were 3. Jason, Megan, and Layla," Julie acknowledged. "We should question each of them, especially Jason," Tom insisted. "On it. Kylie, you go to Megan, and Tom, you go to Layla. I'll question Jason," Julie explained. Kylie went up to Megan, who was sitting in the canteen. "Hey, Megan," she said. "Oh, hey, Kylie," Megan responded sadly. "What's wrong?" Kylie asked. "What's not wrong? 3 kids were killed in the span of 2 days. Mike and I were really close." She frowned, tears swelling in her eyes. "I'm really sorry to hear that. Did Mike have any enemies who went to the camping trip by any chance?" Kylie questioned. "Not that I know of. Last time I saw Mike was yesterday. During lunch, I was chatting with Jason and Mike in the canteen when Mike said he was going to go to the bathroom." Megan added. "Really?" "Wait a second," Kylie responded. Julie strode towards Jason, who was sitting on his bed in the cabin. He was petting something. "Hello, Jason," Julie said. He looked up in fright. "Ah, you scared me," he answered before realizing she saw him holding a pet hamster. "Please don't tell the counselor I brought a hamster," he whispered. "I don't care about the hamster. I'm just here to talk." She sat down on the bed across from him. "Where were you this morning when Mike and Sully were missing?" she questioned. "Thought you said you were here to talk," he muttered. "I was at the lake," he answered. "Did you have a reason to kill Mike or Sully?" Julie asked. "Do you really think I did it?" he exclaimed, looking taken aback. "Come on, Jason, it's obvious. You act so suspicious around everyone," Julie replied. "I would never murder anyone," Jason barked back. "It has to be you," Julie shouted. "It's not. Go ahead and tell the cops, but you will see that I am not. Now get out of this cabin," he snapped. Julie squinted her eyes at Jason. "I've got my eyes on you," she threatened him as she stormed out of the cabin. Although when she went out, she sighed. "It has to be Jason, but it just doesn't seem right," she thought to herself. She bumped into Tom along the way. "Hey, Tom, can we talk?" she asked. "Okay," he replied. They went to a little cabin which was located behind the counselor's office. It had 2 chairs and a single table, and was apparently a lounge area for the campers, although it hadn't been used in a long time. They both sat down. It was like Julie just snapped back into reality after a long dream. She started to breathe heavily, and her eyes looked right back at Tom. He looked at her and he realized she knew. It was you," she stuttered. She stood up from her chair. "You're the one who murdered those innocent campers. And your dad, too," she stammered, lifting up her finger to point at him. He just stared back at her. His hand trailed against a knife that was left on a table behind him. She scrambled back and tried to get to the door. She screamed, "Help! It's Tom! Tom Troe is the murd." Tom stabbed her. She fell down on her knees and clutched her stomach. "How could you?" "It's a shame. I really liked you, Julie. I'm sorry it had to end this way," he said. His face was expressionless, with no emotion showing at all as he stabbed her again. Julie fell face first onto the hard, cold oak wood floor, with her blood quickly surrounding her body, staining her clothes. And so Tom was all alone in that cabin, with nothing but a knife and a dead body keeping him company. The bus rambled on. We couldn't bring our phones, so most of us were bored out of our minds. All but the most talkative kids ran out of subjects to ramble on about hours ago. We had been riding for 8 hours and still had one more to go. I stared blankly into my battered watch. The time read 2:57. Finally, Aiden broke the silence by yelling, "Hey, dork!" "Loser says, huh?" Tired and confused, I grunted out, "Woo!" This prompted laughter up until Layla told them to stop. Being one of the popular kids, they shut up fast. Soon, I was back to staring at my watch tick along. Soon it was 3:42. The bus was just pulling into camp. Everyone began to pile off and explore camp. I waited and got my bags off the bus. By the time I finished setting up my tent, the camp was in chaos. Tayden and Larson were wrestling in the mud, and 4 kids were up in a tree seeing how easy it would be to jump to the next one. Only a few other campers had even set up tents. I just grabbed a pole and some bait to go fish in quiet by the lake for the last few hours of day. Sitting around the fire, we all talked about the ride and how much fun we were going to have tomorrow, while I roasted a trout over the fire. Looking off to all sides, we could see a thick forest. It had a clear edge between the field and the trees. Some people report seeing a strange creature lurking in the forest. All of the rumors were assumed false because it only showed up while campers were around. After all, teens love to play pranks. As we headed to our tents, we all looked up at the sky to the stars. They were beautiful. The morning was crisp and warm with almost no humidity. The crickets refused to shut up, just like our camp leader Emma telling us to wake up. The final effort to get us out of bed was to say the pancakes were ready. We all sprinted over to the grill to get our breakfast. They were extravagant, golden brown and covered in butter and dripping with syrup. After we ate our fill, we got ready for the hike, a few miles up the trail to get to the lake. Those miles were the longest miles ever. Luckily, we all brought swimsuits, so we cooled off in the water. Well, no fishing here. Too many people. Luckily, on the other side of the lake were some cliffs. A few backflips off the first cliff. Then I got ready to climb to the top. I knew that there were very few chances to get this right. I did the double front flip and made it back to the top when we had to go. To get down, I tried out a triple backflip just to see if I could. I could. On the way back, we noticed something that was not natural whatsoever. All of the animals were heading away from camp. Upon our return to camp, nothing stuck out as different. Everything was as it should be, but something was keeping us all from comfort. Some say that we have a sixth sense, and I never believed them until today. I felt some kind of evil and mysterious force, something that was not right, something with powers unknown, something with terrible intentions. We all felt it. The tough kids denied it, but you could tell. The camp leaders did their best to keep spirits up. S'mores by the fire before the pizza was even done. But no one slept easy that night. Everyone could be heard rustling around in their tents. What the worst part is that tomorrow we need a lot of energy for what we are doing. Hopefully, someone brought coffee or some other source of energy. Well, there isn't anything to do tonight. Hopefully tomorrow brings some kind of new energy to the camp. We're going to need every bit we can get. Today, everyone seemed more perked up. Whatever we felt yesterday seemed to have worn off. After egg, cheese, and sausage burritos, we all felt better. Soon we started learning archery. Layla, of course, tried to show everyone up. After all, she is pretty good. But skill is no match for the powers of pure luck. Suffice to say, McCall managed to beat everyone by just kind of pointing the bow in the general direction of the target. Next, we had lunch, just sandwiches. My watch even seemed to have a new shine to it. At 1:13, we headed up to the shooting range. They had just about every kind of gun imaginable, from pistols to shotguns to rifles to machine guns. They had everything. After about 20 minutes, Gavin wanted to take a break and decided a small walk around the field would be fine. As he passed behind the shed, he let out the scream of pure terror. It was cut short by a small thump. By the time we made it there, the beast was fleeing into the woods, and by the shed was Gavin, at least what was left of Gavin. We were told to grab as many weapons and supplies as possible and get to the cabin. The windows were boarded up and the doors were barricaded. All of us hid under whatever could give us protection. We all knew we were in trouble, especially when it came back, or maybe there were more. Whole packs of beasts coming to tear through walls to get to us. We had food for a few days, but it wouldn't last long. We knew that the only way to escape was to kill it, whatever it was. Very few people ever feel true terror. We are all scared from time to time. But nothing ever compares to being a sitting target to a beast with incredible and unknown powers. Not just physical. It had powers over our emotions and energy. It was an unbelievably underpowering feeling. Then it came back. First, we heard the gentle tapping and scraping, then a terrible ripping and tearing of wood. Then all at once it stopped. My watch revealed that today was Thursday the 12th. Tomorrow was Friday the 13th. All new fear consumed us. True terror. All of us were prepared for the worst when we left the cabin, and we got just that. The thing had spent a considerable amount of effort making traps. Some were just to weaken, to slow down. Others were to kill. All of them well hidden. The first victim was Jace. On the outside of his tent lay a small but sturdy sapling. On the end, a small dagger was poised. As the string holding the sapling was released, by a movement of the tent, let the sapling spring up straight again. The dagger was driven in by the recoil of the sapling. Jace collapsed in agony. The dagger was stuck just above the knee. The second incident involved a well-hidden snake. When Tyler went to find water barrels, a snake lashed out from beneath a barrel. The snake held on, as if he were trying to keep him for food. The snake was pinned to the ground. The fangs pulled at his skin viciously before coming loose. He died an hour later from the venom. A select few were set to guarding the camp from on the roof. The archer, Layla, the gunner, Aiden, and the sniper, me. The thing never came back. No life was seen that day aside from ours. No deer or raccoons, no crickets or bugs, just total emptiness. We collected everything we needed for the night. We could hold out a few days longer, but our nerves may not. All of us are on edge. Mikal snuck his phone with on the trip. It only had enough battery for one call. We got a bus to come here tomorrow. One full day of survival before we escape. The final casualty of the night was Tayden. The most powerful yet simplest trap had claimed him. The pit trap. A mat of twigs and leaves covered a hole containing a slow and painful death. A pit of knives, poison-tipped knives, hundreds of blades cutting through skin like butter. The last time we stepped outdoors for the night was for any sign of rescue. Anyone coming to help. No one. Another night and day before rescue. Another night of fear. Another night of hoping the thing stays out. Another night of the evil creeping into us. Another night of pain. The night was quiet, too quiet. The fear of what lay outside was unbearable. A scout was sent to the roof, Mikal. The coast was clear. Clouds covered the sky in a whirlwind of dark and mysterious gray. The growing number of kids climbing to the roof put a lot of force on the kids who got out first. A bit of dew was all it took to cause a catastrophe. As Mikal fell, it came back. The gripping fear contained us as it ripped Mikal from the roof to be eaten. Those who had guns took turns firing rounds at the thing. Even the highest caliber rifles did nothing but stun it. All of us were shocked. The bus was slowly rambling down the dirt road towards us. That speed could give us enough time to distract it. The thing had yet to spot it. We all knew we needed a way to the bus. The thing continued to circle us. A brief break in the clouds let a small ray of light glance off of my watch into my eyes. The bus rumbled slowly into view. As a last-ditch effort, I used the sun to shine a quick beam into the thing's eyes. The sun vanished. It began to ravage the cabin to reach us. I threw my watch as far as I could. It made it almost 50 yards. The last time my watch read was 5:13 p.m. As we all piled off of the roof, the thing saw us. It sprinted towards us. Larson made a last effort to stop it, hurling himself at it, screaming, "You can't take Tayden without taking me with!" As it tore away from Larson, it grabbed as many of us as it could. All of us remaining, us 5, drove away. The bus sped down the lane, a new vigor pumping through the engine. We rushed away from the thing, away from the fear, away from the pain, away from Camp Wendigo. My name is Sam Becker. I'm 15 years old, and this story is about how I lost my best friend. It was summer break, and my best friend Allie and I were packing up to go to summer camp. That day, my mom decided to take us shopping. I got a pair of new sneakers, an art block, a new t-shirt, and some snacks. At night, after we had successfully packed all our things for camp, Mom had finally agreed to let Allie sleep over after I had asked her at least 1,000 times before we went to bed. Mom said, "I don't understand. Both of you are going to stay with each other during summer camp." We just laughed and headed to my room. In bed, I had a feeling that this was going to be Ty's best summer ever. But I didn't know what was going to happen next. The moment I opened my eyes, I knew it was going to be a great day. When I pulled back the curtains, I saw a beautiful sunrise. I shook Allie's shoulder. "Allie, wake up and watch the sunrise before you miss it." "Come on, it looks amazing at hearing that." She got up and walked towards the window. When we went downstairs, Mom was already awake and was in the kitchen making pancakes. She looked up and saw us. "Good morning, girls," she said with a big smile on her face. My older brother Jace was already at the dining table eating what looked like his 3rd plate of pancakes. "Hey, you better save some for us," I told him, my hands on my hips. I turned to look at Allie. She was blushing furiously. I rolled my eyes and sighed as Jace smiled. Allie and I went upstairs to get changed. I put on a pair of skinny jeans, my new t-shirt, and my new white sneakers, while Allie changed into her skinny jeans, her new green tank top, and her new pink sneakers. After breakfast, Allie and I grabbed our things and waited at the bus stop. My mom trusts me, so she was in the house while we waited for the bus to come. When the bus arrived, we hopped on and quickly found some seats. I had no idea that I was just about to meet the person who wrecked my whole summer and caused me to lose my best friend. After getting on the bus, Allie and I sent a text to our moms so that they would be assured that we were all right and safe on the bus. A little while later, a weird-looking girl boarded the bus. She came up to us and gave us a spooky grin. We said hello, but she just walked away without a reply. I had no idea what just happened, but I felt a chill down my spine, so I just didn't think much of it. Eventually, we forgot about her and talked during the whole ride. When we arrived at the campgrounds, the teacher in charge introduced us to the weird girl to us. Turns out that her name was Lana Jackson, and I was kind of scared of her, to be honest. But what I heard next made me want to throw myself off of Shallow Peak. Mrs. Gloria, who was the head teacher, said to us, "Girls, Lana will be staying in the cabin beside yours, so try to get along and be friends, all right?" When I heard this, I froze out of shock. She was gonna stay with the us. I turned towards Allie. I could tell by the expression on her face that she was as shocked as I was. Then, all of a sudden, Lana turned towards us and gave us the same spooky grin, which left my hair standing on end. After Mrs. Gloria had left, Lana was walking to the girls' restroom when Roxy May came out of nowhere. Roxy May is the meanest girl in TDH world and most probably the dumbest as well. Roxy and her group of wannabes approached Lana and said, "OMG, girls, take a look at this creep." "She's so ugly," one said, looking at Lana as though she was a slice of moldy bread, dipped in a cup of spoilt milk that was left outside in the hot sun, stuffed in a shoebox. Roxy pushed Lana to the floor and walked away laughing with her group of wannabe friends. I thought Lana would run off and tell Mrs. Gloria, but instead, she smiled behind Roxy's back. That just creeped me out. But we didn't know that the worst was yet to come. When it was time to go to bed, I was still uncomfortable about the fact that Lana was staying in the cabin next to ours. But after closing my eyes, I had drifted off into a deep sleep. But a little while later, Allie and I were awakened to the sound of someone screaming. We grabbed our flashlights and ran out of the cabin to see where it had come from, but we didn't see anything. So assuming it must have just been a harmless animal, We went back into the cabin and went back to sleep. We didn't know what was going to be discovered the next day. When Allie and I woke up, we heard people talking outside and it was very loud. I wonder what had happened. "Come on, Sam, let's go see what's happening out there," Allie said. "Okay," I replied. When we went outside, we saw a huge crowd of students and teachers. They were all gathered around the old oak tree. As we walked closer, the gruesome sight slowly came into view, and that's when we saw it. The lifeless body of Roxy May. She was hanging in the tree by her neck. Yes, she had been hung, and it was a truly gruesome sight to be seen. It didn't look like an act of suicide, but an act of murder. How do I know? Simple. Her hands were tied. Worst of all, her stomach had been slit open, and her vital organs were wrapped around her waist. Who could have possibly committed such a gruesome murder? But the most uncomfortable thing about this whole situation was the fact that when I glanced at Lana, she was smiling. But it wasn't her usual spooky grin. It was more of a psychotic murderer kind of smile. It was the kind of smile that made me think that she had something to do with Roxy's mysterious death, and I didn't like it. After a while, the police arrived and questioned all the teachers. But after seeing Lana, they left with no reason whatsoever. I was so confused. Why did they leave after seeing Lana? After the police left, Allie and I went back to our cabin. "Sam, do you think that Lana might have killed Roxy?" Allie asked. "Of course I do. Didn't you see her smiling? Then let's go and search her cabin." Allie said, "What? No. Are you crazy?" I replied, alarmed. "She isn't in. She went to the dining hall to have breakfast. We have half an hour," she told me. I looked at her and sighed. "All right." So like two maniacs, Allie and I snuck into Lana's cabin. To be fair, it just looked like a normal cabin, so we decided to check her luggage for anything suspicious. I slowly walked up to her suitcase and unzipped it, and what I saw was unbelievable. Suddenly, the doorknob started to turn. Allie and I quickly hid under her bed. As Lana walked in, she noticed her unzipped suitcase. She slowly walked up to it and zipped it shut. As she turned around, she had another one of her psycho smiles plastered on her face. After she left, Allie and I ran out of the cabin and ran to the dining hall. I know one thing: I will never forget what I saw. That night, I was having trouble sleeping, so I took out my sketchbook. While I was sketching, I noticed that Allie couldn't sleep either. After a while, I felt tired, so I put my sketchbook away and lay down. Then Allie said, "Sam, I'm going to go to the bathroom." "All right," I replied. After she left, my eyelids felt heavy and I fell asleep. After a while, I woke up to the sound of someone screaming. It sounded like Allie. I grabbed my flashlight and ran out of the cabin. The scream sounded like it came from the girls' bathroom. I ran to the bathroom and tried to open the door, but it was locked. So I kicked the door till the lock broke. When I opened the door, I was shocked. The sight was horrible. There were blood smears everywhere. Then I saw it. I saw Allie's lifeless body leaning against the sink. Her head had been smashed into the mirror, and there were bruises all over her legs. I suddenly noticed a note tied around her wrist. It said, "She saw something she wasn't supposed to see. She deserves to die." I was so upset that I tore the note up into a million tiny pieces. Then I ran straight to the teachers' cabins and banged on the first door I saw. Mr. Parker, the games teacher, opened the door. "What's the matter, Sam?" he said within a tired yawn. I looked up at him, my eyes brimming with tears. Ally is dead." When Mr. Parker heard this, he panicked, saying, "Where did this happen?" Bathroom." Mr. Parker grabbed his flashlight and ran to the girls' bathroom. When he saw what had happened to Allie, he gasped and dialed 911. After a while, the cops came and asked Mr. Parker about what had happened, but he told them to ask me. After I told the cops what I knew, they left. Mrs. Gloria came up and comforted me. When I went back to the cabin, I couldn't fall asleep. I couldn't stop thinking about what I saw in that suitcase. While I lay in bed, I thought about what I'd seen. Then I fell asleep. I had a dream. I was back in Lana's cabin. When I turned around, I saw Lana's suitcase in front of me. When I opened it, I saw a gun, a rope, a notebook, and a piece of paper. I picked up the notebook and flipped through it, but all I saw were drawings of ghosts and ghouls. Then when I got to the last page, I was shocked. I saw a long list of names. Then I spotted Roxy's and Allie's names, but they were crossed out. Then I picked up the piece of paper. It was another drawing, and it looked vaguely familiar. Then I realized it was me. I quickly picked up the notebook and flipped back to the last page. Then I looked at it a little more closely. I saw my name written at the bottom of the page, but it wasn't crossed out. Then I realized I was Lana's next target. I felt a chill down my spine, and when I turned around, I saw Lana standing behind me with her big, psycho smile. Then I woke up. When I woke up, I was covered in a cold sweat. I had dreamt about what had actually happened. I was so scared. Then I saw Allie's empty bed and cried my eyes out. But I knew I had to be careful around Lana, so I took the Swiss Army knife my dad had given me for my birthday and put it in my pocket. When I got to the dining hall, Mrs. Gloria came up to me. "Sam, can you sit with me today?" she asked. Okay. When I sat down, Mrs. Gloria asked, "Aren't you going to eat?" "No, I'm not hungry." Mrs. Gloria looked at me and smiled. "You know, you remind me so much of your mother, so sweet and innocent. Did you know that she used to go to this camp as well when she was about your age?" Then, Lana came up to me holding her breakfast tray. "Hey, Sam, I have some jawbreakers. Would you like one?" she asked, her voice a little too cheerful. "No thanks," I replied. Lana got angry and walked away. I didn't expect what she was going to do next. During my free time, I was sitting underneath a big oak tree. I was sketching when Lana walked up to me. I was wondering why she was here. Then I realized that I was sitting in a very solitary spot. I had already realized what Lana was trying to do, so I pulled out my Swiss Army knife and hid it between the pages of my sketchbook. Then Lana came closer and said, "Hi, Sam. I still have some jawbreakers. Are you sure you don't want one?" Then she flashed me one of her psycho smiles. "Lana, don't come near me. I know what you did," I told her. Then Lana got aggressive and ran towards me. I was ready for her to pull out her gun, and just as I'd suspected, she did. She lifted it and tried to aim at me, but I was running from side to side. "Stop moving, Sam!" she screamed, getting frustrated and even angrier. Then when the moment was right, I picked up a rather large stone and threw it at her hand. The rock, as it was so large, was also very heavy, so when it hit her hand, it sent the gun flying straight into the lake. Now that I knew that Lana was unarmed, I ran towards her, pulled out my knife, and stabbed her. Then before anybody could see what was going on, I put my knife on the floor and dropped a humongous rock on top of it so that it would be crushed. Then I took the crushed up remains of my Swiss Army knife and tossed it into the lake. Then Miss Phillips, who was passing by, screamed when she saw what happened and ran off to alert the authorities. When the police arrived, they questioned me and stuff. The next day, my mom picked me up. She was full of so many questions about what had happened. "Mom, do you remember Mrs. Gloria? She was the head of camp. She told me she still remembers you." I told her. "What are you talking about, honey? Mrs. Gloria died 3 years ago." If you enjoyed this video and want to see more of my content, please consider subscribing and hitting the like button. Let us know down below in the comments which story was your favorite. Thank you so much for watching.